Ian stood quietly at the edge of the landing platform as the cold wind of Terrea brushed across his face. The sky above was green, filled with thin silver clouds and 3 small moons round him. Tall alien trees grew in straight lines, their leaves glowing faint blue in the evening light. The place was peaceful, but Ian's heart was not. It was his first mission as a peacekeeper of the Earth Union. He wore a gray uniform with a blue stripe across the shoulder and the Earth symbol on his chest. He had studied for this day for many years, but now that it had come, his hands felt cold and unsure. Terrea was not an ordinary planet. It was a neutral ground, used by alien species for meetings, peace talks, and sometimes quiet trade. No weapons were allowed here. No warships were allowed to fly above. Every visitor had to enter alone, by shuttle, with trust. As Ian walked toward the great hall of meeting, he saw different alien species talking in quiet groups. Some looked like tall lizards, some had skin like stone. One group had wings folded behind their backs. He noticed how all of them looked at him when he passed. Some looked curious, some looked afraid, and some looked angry. He reached the entrance, a wide gate made of silver metal and green crystal. 2 guards stood there, tall beings with 6 arms and dark green eyes. One scanned his ID chip and nodded. Earth Union, first peace visit, allowed to enter, the guard said. Ian took a deep breath and stepped inside. The chamber was huge and round, with seats rising in circles like steps. At the center was a low table made of stone. Round it, 10 alien leaders stood, speaking in their own languages. Soft translation devices whispered meanings into Ian's ear. He waited at the edge. Just as he had been taught, a bell rang, and all eyes turned to the door. One by one, new delegates entered. Then she came. She was tall and graceful, her skin glowing blue like a river under moonlight. Her hair was white and tied back in braids. Her eyes, silver and sharp, scanned the room. A long cloth was tied across her shoulder, showing her clan marked 3 stars and a broken sword. Her name was Jariel, and she was the warrior chief of the planet Velen, which had once fought against humans in a war. As soon as her eyes fell on Ian, she stopped walking. The room went quiet, her silver eyes fixed on his chest on the blue-striped earth. Union symbol. Her hands curled into fists. You, she shouted, her voice deep and clear. You were that cloth here. Ian froze. Everyone turned toward him. You were the mark of those who burned my world. Jariel's voice echoed in the chamber. Do you come here for peace or to insult us? Before Ian could speak, she took a step forward, her body tense like a blade. Jariel, stop, one of the delegates said, raising a hand. This is neutral ground. But Jariel did not listen. Her hand reached for her side, forgetting that no weapons were allowed. The guards moved fast. In a moment, they were between her and Ian. I said stop. The lead guard shouted. No violence in Terrea. Jariel stood still now, breathing hard. Her eyes never left Ian. Ian looked back at her, his voice low but calm. I am sorry for what happened to your people, he said, but I am not here to harm anyone. Jariel said nothing. A senior delegate stood up. He was a short, round alien with 6 eyes and a soft voice. Let us remember why we are here, he said. This planet is for peace, not for blame. Another alien, a winged female, spoke gently. Jariel, this human is not the one who hurt your world. Let us hear what he has to say. Jariel gave one last cold look at Ian, then walked to her seat. Her footsteps were heavy. Ian walked slowly to the center. He placed his hands on the table and bowed his head. My name is Ian. I come from Earth. I was sent not to speak for power but for peace. I know the past is full of pain. I know some humans did terrible things. I cannot change that. But I am here to build something better. Some delegates nodded. Others remained silent. I did not ask for trust, Ian continued. I only ask for one chance to listen, one chance to understand, and maybe one chance to be understood. He stepped back. For a long moment, no one said anything. Then the same winged delegate turned to Jariel. Do you wish to speak with the human? She asked. Jariel looked at Ian for a long time. Then, In a low voice, she said, "Only if we are alone. No guards, no tricks." Ein looked at the guards, then back at her. "I agree," he said. Everyone in the room felt the weight of that moment. Outside, the 3 moons of Terea slowly crossed the sky. Peace was not yet here. But maybe, just maybe, a door had opened. Ein waited outside the quiet garden, the place where he would soon meet Jaril alone. The wind was soft and carried the scent of alien flowers, blue petals shaped like stars. The ground beneath his feet was made of smooth white stones. The garden was surrounded by tall glowing trees that whispered gently as they moved. He was nervous. Since the day he joined the Peacekeeper program, Ein had trained for talks, for politics, for calm. But no book, no lesson, had taught him what to do when someone looked at him with eyes full of pain and hate because of a uniform. He looked down at it now. Gray cloth, a blue stripe, the Earth Union symbol. Simple, clean, official. But to Jaril, this cloth was not a sign of peace. It was a memory of fire. He remembered the moment she had shouted at him. The sound of her voice still rang in his ears. "You are the mark of those who burn my world." Ein felt the weight of that sentence in his chest. Just then, the soft sound of steps came from behind the garden wall. Jaril entered slowly, her long robe brushing the stones. She wore no armor today, no weapons. Just her clan's cloth across her chest. They stood facing each other. "I came as agreed," Ein said quietly. Jaril gave a small nod. Her face showed no emotion, but her eyes were still sharp like blades. "I do not trust you," she said, "but I want to know what kind of man dares to wear that symbol among us." "I understand," Ein replied, "and I will answer anything." They sat across from each other onto stone benches. A small fountain flowed between them, its water glowing with soft blue light. "Your people destroyed my city," Jaril said. "Do you know that?" Ein looked down. "Yes, my sister was only 16. She had never even seen a human before. She died trying to help the wounded." Ein closed his eyes for a moment. "I'm sorry, Jaril. I cannot take back what was done. But I can tell you this, those who gave that attack order no longer speak for us." She stared at him. "So now you come, wearing their cloth, and ask for peace?" "This cloth is not the same anymore," Ein said. "The symbol is old, yes, but we, the ones who wear it now, are trying to change what it means." Jaril said nothing. Ein reached into his pocket and pulled out a small silver cube. "This is a memory chip. It holds records, old files, voices, reports. It tells the truth about what happened on Velen." Jaril hesitated. "Why give this to me?" she asked. "Because truth belongs to those who suffer the most." Jaril took the cube slowly. Her fingers trembled. Just for a moment, she looked at it, but did not activate it. Then she looked up at him again. "Why are you really here?" "Ein of Earth. I was sent for peace talks. But more than that, I came because I believe humans can do better. We can learn. We can help. Fix what we broke." She narrowed her eyes. "And what if I do not believe you? Then I will still try, even if I fail." Jaril stood up and walked to the edge of the garden. She looked at the sky, green and filled with light from the moons. Her voice was softer now. "Your brother was a peacekeeper too, wasn't he?" Ein's eyes widened. "Yes. How do you know?" "I studied your file," she said without turning. "He died on the moon of Uran, saving alien refugees from a collapsing tunnel." I nodded. "He gave his life for others. He believed that no one should be left behind, no matter the race or world." "And you believe the same?" "Yes." Jaril turned around. Her eyes were no longer burning, but thoughtful. "Perhaps you are not like the others, but many still see you as a threat. Your uniform is a shadow to them." "I know," Ein said. "That's why I don't want to hide. I want to show that humans can be different." Jaril walked back and sat down again. She looked at the memory chip in her hand. Then she said, "If I watch this, and if I find even one lie in it, I will speak against your presence here." I nodded. "You have every right." They sat in silence for a while. Then Jaril stood again. "I will see what truth you carry. Until then, you may speak in the talks, but only under watch." "I accept that," Jaril walked away, her steps slow and steady. She did not look back. Ein stayed sitting for a long time. The garden was quiet again, except for the sound of the fountain. Later that night, in her private room, Jaril sat before a glowing screen. She placed the memory chip inside and pressed the first file. A young human officer spoke, recorded years ago. We attacked Velen believing it was a military base. But we were wrong. It was a cultural city, full of artists and families. We failed. Another voice followed. A councilwoman said, "We offer our sorrow and responsibility to the people of Velen. It was never our wish to bring death to the innocent." Jaril watched and listened. One file showed human volunteers building homes in alien towns after the war. Another showed children human and alien drawing pictures together under the same roof. Hours passed. When the final file ended, Jaril sat in silence. Her hands were tight around the edge of the table. The uniform still hurt to see. The past still lived in her heart. But for the first time, she saw not just soldiers but humans who cried, who rebuilt, who wanted peace. The next morning, Jaril stood in the meeting hall again. She said nothing about what she had watched. But when Ein entered, she did not rise. She did not shout. She simply looked at him, and for a brief moment, her eyes did not hold fire but question. A small start. But sometimes, peace begins not with a speech, not with victory, but with a question. The sun of Terea rose slowly behind the tall crystal towers, lighting the world with soft gold. Birds with glowing wings flew across the sky. In the center garden of the Peace Hall, the air was still, as if it knew something important was about to happen. Ein walked quietly along the stone path. His steps were careful, steady. He wore the same gray uniform, the same blue stripe, the same Earth Union badge. But now, it no longer felt like a proud mark. It felt like a burden, but one he chose to carry with meaning. Today, he was going to speak with Jaril again, not under guard, not with others listening, just the two of them. He reached the garden's center. The same fountain still whispered water. The flowers still glowed. But today, there was a new calm in the air. Jaril was already there, sitting cross-legged on a low bench under a flowering tree. Her face was calm, her white hair loose over her shoulders. The memory chip sat beside her, untouched since last night. She looked up as Ein entered. "You came," she said simply. "You asked." "I came," he replied. She pointed to the bench across from her. "Sit." Ein sat down. For a few seconds, neither spoke. Jaril broke the silence. "I watched all the files." Ein waited. "I saw your commanders admit the mistake," she continued. "I saw your people cry for those they never met. I saw humans building schools on alien soil." She looked at him. "But I also saw the faces of my people in ruins. That memory does not leave." "I understand," Ein said softly. "It shouldn't leave. That memory matters." Jaril nodded slowly. "You speak with respect, but that does not erase history." "I don't want to erase it," Ein said. "I want to learn from it." She studied him for a moment, then asked, "Why do you care so much?" "You could have followed orders, spoken pretty words, and left, but you gave me the truth." Ein looked at the fountain. "Because my brother died trying to protect strangers. And when they sent me here, I wanted to do something that would make him proud." Jaril tilted her head. "Tell me about him." Ein smiled a little. "His name was Phase. He was older than me, strong, quiet. He joined the peace mission when no one else believed it would work. On the moon of Uran, a tunnel collapsed. Instead of escaping, he ran back inside to pull out the injured alien workers. He never came out." Jaril was silent. Ein continued, "After that, I stopped thinking of peace as a word. It became something real to me, something worth giving your life for." Jaril looked at the ground. Her fingers touched the memory chip lightly. "My sister's name was Molly. She loved music. She played a stringed instrument called Fearing. On the day of the attack, she was in the temple helping elders escape. Her voice was softer now. She wasn't a soldier. She wasn't even trained to fight. But she stood at the door with a wooden staff and faced the soldiers alone." Ein listened quietly. His chest felt heavy. "I never got to say goodbye." Jariel said. When I found her, she was holding the staff in both hands, broken, burnt, but she did not run. She was brave, Ayn said, more than many trained warriors. Jariel looked at him, her eyes deep with pain and pride. She believed kindness was stronger than fear. A long silence followed. Then Ayn said, maybe your sister and my brother would have been friends. Jariel gave a small smile. Maybe they would have written songs and stories together. The wind blew gently through the trees. Jariel leaned back. So what now, Ayn of Earth? We spoke. We shared. But the council still watches you with suspicion. One wrong move, and they will send you away. I know, Ayn said. But if even one person begins to understand, then I've already done something worth it. Jariel stood and walked to the edge of the garden, where a small glass wall looked over the valley. Ayn followed. She said, there's something I haven't told you? Ayn looked at her, waiting. I wasn't just angry when I saw your uniform, she said. I was afraid. He frowned. Afraid of me? No, she said. Afraid. Of myself. She turned to face him. I've been trained to fight, to lead, to protect my people. For years, I told myself that all humans were dangerous, that if I ever faced one, I would strike first. She looked at his chest again, the symbol on his uniform. But then I saw your eyes. They didn't look like the eyes of a killer. They looked honest. Ayn did not speak. He let her words settle. She continued. I was afraid that if I listened to you, I would betray Molly's memory. But now I think maybe keeping her memory alive means listening to. Ayn nodded. You haven't betrayed her. You honored her by choosing truth. Jariel breathed deeply. Tomorrow, I will speak at the council. I will say that you may continue as part of the peace talks. Ayn's eyes widened. You will. Yes, but under one condition. Name it. You continue meeting with me, in private. No speeches, no guards, just truth. Ayn smiled, agreed. They stood in silence again. The sun was higher now, the sky bright and wide. Before leaving, Jariel turned one last time. I still do not trust your leaders, but I may start trusting you. I'll work for that trust, Ayn said. She walked away slowly, her white hair shining in the morning light. Ayn stayed in the garden a little longer. For the first time since his arrival, he felt like the ground beneath his feet accepted him. One alien, one human, to painful memories, and maybe the beginning of something new. The peace chamber of Terea was quieter than usual. Since Jariel had spoken to the council and allowed Ayn to stay, the air inside the great hall had changed. Some delegates now gave small nods when he entered. A few even greeted him with short words. Still, not everyone was happy. Some alien leaders whispered to one another when Ayn passed. A few stared at him with cold eyes. One or two left the room when he spoke. But Ayn didn't let it bother him. He kept his words soft, his tone respectful. He focused on building trust one step at a time. And every day after the meetings ended, he returned to the garden where Jariel waited. Their quiet conversations became part of his daily path. They talked about war, about loss, about hope. Jariel told him stories of her people's music and mountains. Ayn shared Earth's oceans and forests. Slowly, something fragile began to grow between them. But peace is never a straight road. One morning, Ayn was walking to the garden when he noticed strange glances from the guards. They stood stiff, their hands tight around their staffs. The normal calm of Terea was gone. He saw the delegates whispering in a corner, their eyes sharp. Before he could ask anything, one of the peacekeepers, a tall, bird-like being named Reltor, approached him quickly. Ayn of Earth, Reltor said, voice tight, you must come. Now, what happened? Ayn asked. You must see for yourself. They led him through the side hall to the media chamber. A wide screen glowed at the front. Around it stood several council members, including Jariel. She looked troubled. Reltor touched the screen, and a video began to play. It was a recording, clear, direct. And from the garden, it showed Ayn and Jariel sitting close together, talking. Privately, no sound, but their faces were serious. Then the video zoomed in. Jariel took a small object from Ian's hand. It was the memory chip. The screen froze. Reltor turned to the others. This video was leaked just hours ago. Someone sent it to our channels across the galaxy. It claims the human is secretly feeding Jariel Earth tools to twist the peace talks. That's a lie, Ian said quickly. That chip only had public records. I gave it freely, maybe, said another delegate. But that video has already spread. Now many think this is a secret deal between Earth and Velen. Jariel stepped forward. Who recorded it? We are still searching, Reltor replied. Another council member, with scales of bronze and dark green eyes, spoke coldly. Earth has always been a clever player. Maybe this was planned. I did nothing wrong, Ian said. I have followed every rule. Maybe the rules mean nothing to you, said the bronze-scaled one. Maybe you are here not for peace, but control. Jariel raised her voice. Enough. I accepted the human's offer. He gave truth, not tricks. But her words didn't calm the room. The air was sharp now, full of mistrust. Reltor looked at Ian. You must leave the hall today. The council needs time to discuss. I understand, Ian said. But please do not stop the talks. That's what they want. Who? Asked Jariel. The ones who made this video, Ian said. Someone wants this peace to fail. That night, Jariel returned to her room. Her thoughts heavy. She watched the video again. But she already knew what had happened. The moment had been true, but the message was twisted. Someone wanted to turn peace into poison. She thought of Molly again. Her sister had once told her, even in the darkest war, someone must carry light. Jariel sat by her window and looked at the stars. Then she remembered something, an old friend who now led a small group on the edge of the system. Someone who once warned her about growing shadows in the galaxy. She opened her communicator and sent a message elsewhere. Ian sat alone in his guest room. He was not under arrest, but he was under watch. 2 guards waited outside his door. He could not leave. He sat with a tablet in his lap, reading news from the outer colonies. He found the same video again, now shared across hundreds of systems. Comments under it were full of anger. Humans cannot be trusted. This is just the first step of Earth's new empire. Velen bows to Earth now. It was painful to read, but one message caught his eye. It was written in a secret code he had learned from his brother, a code used by peacekeepers during emergencies. The message said, "Bomb under the chamber. Final talks at risk. Trust no one." Ian's heart froze. He looked again, trying to trace the source. But the sender had already disappeared. He stood up, heart racing. He couldn't sit and wait. He had to warn someone. He pressed the room's call button. A guard entered. "I need to speak to Reltor or Jariel," Ian said quickly. "It's urgent." The guard frowned. "You are not allowed to leave." "Listen to me," Ian said, eyes sharp. "There's a bomb under the peace chamber. During the final talks, I just got a warning. We don't have time." The guard stared at him, then turned and called for backup. A short time later, Jariel and Reltor met Ian in a locked room. Ian explained everything. The secret message, the threat, the timing. Jariel listened carefully. "You're sure?" she asked. "It's the same code my brother used. Only peacekeepers know it. Someone's trying to destroy everything. We have to stop it." Reltor nodded. "We must search the chamber." At once, Jariel touched her communicator. "I already sent the scan request, but we'll need your help." "I am anything," he said. Jariel looked at him. "We walk into the fire together." The next morning, the final peace talks were scheduled. Leaders from all major systems gathered in the Great Hall. All eyes were on the central table. Turea's 3 moons hung above like silent watchers. But underneath the floor, hidden wires waited. In 3 lives, Jariel, Ian, and Reltor moved through the tunnels with quiet steps. Jariel led the way with a scanner. Ian followed, checking the old maps. Then suddenly, the scanner beeped. "There," she whispered. Ian knelt and pulled away a panel. Inside was a small black device, simple, deadly, timed. Jariel looked at Ian. "You were right," he nodded. "We still have time. Let's end this before it begins." The tunnels under the peace chamber were dark and narrow. The only light came from Jariel's scanner and Ian's small wrist torch. Every step they took echoed through the stone walls, as if the whole planet was listening. Ian stared at the small black bomb in front of him. It was simple but deadly. The red timer showed exactly 3:20 to just over 3 minutes left. Jariel crouched beside him. "Can you disarm it?" Ian nodded, though his hands were already sweating. "I was trained for basic bomb work, but this isn't human tech. I'll need your help." Jariel moved closer. "Tell me what to do." Reltor stood behind them, guarding the tunnel entrance. "We must move fast. The final peace meeting has already started. If this explodes, hundreds will die." Ian took a deep breath. "Okay, Jariel, hold the scanner over the wires. Tell me which one glows the brightest." Jariel did as he asked. "The red one." Ian reached into his pocket, pulled out a small tool, and gently cut the blue wire next to it. The timer stopped for half a second, then began blinking faster. "Wrong wire," he whispered. "It's a trap." Jariel's eyes narrowed. "What now?" "I need to access the core. Hold this steady." He passed her the tool and reached under the device, searching for the release clip. "Got it," he said. "There's a second layer. Very old tech. This wasn't made by any known military." Jariel tilted her head. "Could it be the fire circle?" Ian looked up. "What's that?" "A small group," she said. "Aliens and humans who hate peace. They believe war keeps the strong in power." "Then they're behind this," Ian said. The timer now showed 1:11. Jariel didn't wait. She took her ceremonial hairpin and pressed it gently into a small hole at the side of the bomb. Click. The timer paused again. Ian grinned. "That did it. You slowed it down. Now finish it," she said calmly. Ayn removed the core, cut one final wire, and pulled out the energy cell. The screen went dark. They all exhaled. "It's done," Ian whispered. "We stopped it." But Reltor raised a hand. "Wait, if there's one device, there may be more." Jariel stood. "We split up, searched every tunnel. We don't leave anything to chance." Above them, in the great chamber, the final piece meeting continued. Alien leaders from 20 worlds sat in a circle. Some were old warriors, others wise scholars, their languages mixed together through the translator field. One delegate stood and raised a question. "Where's the human envoy?" Another replied, "He was removed after the video leak." Whispers filled the air. A third voice said, "Then perhaps Earth is not ready for peace." Just then, Jariel stepped into the chamber. Her face was calm, but her voice was strong. "Iron of Earth is not here because he's doing what we should all be doing, protecting peace." The delegates turned to her. She lifted the small black bomb in both hands. "This was placed beneath your feet," she said, "set to explode." During this very meeting, gasps filled the room. Some leaders stood, others looked around in fear. Jariel continued, "It was found by Ian, who risked his life to stop it. He warned us even after being blamed and pushed aside." Reltor entered behind her. "We found two more devices, all disabled. But the message is clear: someone wants this treaty to fail." An old winged alien spoke. "Then Earth was not the enemy." "No," Jariel said. "But there is still an enemy, one that hides behind shadows and lies." Back in the tunnels, Ian sat alone on the floor, his hands shaking now that the danger had passed. The silence around him was heavy. His tablet buzzed. A message appeared. "Bomb safe. Jariel spoke for you. Come." He smiled. Slowly, he made his way back up to the chamber. When Ian entered, the room was already silent. All eyes turned to him. He stood at the doorway, unsure if he was welcome. Then Jariel stepped forward. She held out her hand. "Come," she said. "You belong in this circle." Ian walked forward slowly. He stood beside her. The bronze-scale delegate who once doubted him spoke first. "You risked your life to save ours. Why? Because peace means nothing if we don't protect it." "With action," Ian said. "And because I believe no species is better than another." A short, thick-skinned alien nodded. "You showed courage," the old winged delegate added, "and honesty." Then, one by one, each leader stood. A vote began. When it ended, Reltor spoke the results. By majority agreement, Earth may continue as a full member of the peace circle. A soft cheer rose in the chamber. Jaril looked at Ein with calm pride. You earned this not with a uniform, but with heart. Ein smiled. Thank you for trusting me. Later that evening, Ein and Jaril stood again in the garden where everything had started. The stars above Terea shined brighter than ever. Jaril said, "We stopped a plan to destroy us. But peace is not a single battle. It's a road." Ein nodded, "And we walk it together." She looked at him. "Tomorrow, I return to Velen. Will you come?" Ein looked up at the sky. "If there's work to be done, I'll be there." They stood quietly under the tree. The wind carried soft petals around their feet. Far above, in space, the storm had passed. But the stars watched closely for what humans and aliens might build next. The sun rose gently over the hills of Terea. Light poured into the valley like golden water, touching every corner of the peace compound. Flowers opened slowly, birds began their songs, and the silver tree swayed in the breeze. But inside Ein's room, everything was quiet. He sat alone in front of a mirror, holding his Earth Union uniform. The cloth felt heavy in his hands not because of its weight, but because of its meaning. This was the same uniform that had caused anger, fear, and division. It was the same one that had nearly gotten him removed from the talks. It was also the same one he wore when he helped stop the bombs. Now, a final meeting was about to begin. Not a peace talk, but a ceremony. The alien leaders had decided to sign a unity agreement. It would mark the start of a galactic peace council, something the galaxy had never seen before. Ein had been invited to speak at the ceremony, but he had a choice to make to wear the uniform or not. He looked at it again, then stood up and slowly put it on. He took a deep breath. "I will not hide," he whispered. "Let this cloth mean something better today." Outside, the peace plaza was already full. Delegates, citizens, and envoys from every species stood around a raised platform. Flags from different worlds danced in the wind. Jaril stood near the center, dressed in her traditional white and blue robe. Her clan symbol, the broken sword, had been gently stitched with a new line beneath it, a small circle, representing unity. She looked around, searching for Ein. Then she saw him. He walked through the crowd, head held high, wearing the Earth Union uniform. The blue stripe on his shoulder caught the morning light. Whispers followed him, some in surprise, some in respect. Jaril smiled softly. She walked toward him. "You chose to wear it," she said. "I did," Ein replied. "Not to show pride, but to show change." She nodded. "Then speak with truth. That is all that matters." The ceremony began with a song. A group of alien children sang in 7 different languages, each line flowing into the next. Their voices were soft but strong, and the sound carried across the plaza. Then the delegates stood one by one to sign the agreement. Jaril stepped forward and pressed her thumb to the glowing tablet. Her name lit up in silver letters. "I signed this not to forget the past," she said, "but to build a better future." Others followed. Wings brushed against robes. Clawed hands touched smooth glass. Old enemies stood side by side. Finally, Reltor turned to Ein. "Human of Earth, would you like to speak before we close the circle?" Ein nodded and stepped onto the platform. He looked at the faces around him, so different, yet all watching with hope and doubt. He began slowly. "When I first came here, I wore this uniform with pride, but I did not fully understand what it meant to others. Too many, it was a symbol of pain, a reminder of war, of loss." He paused. "One person even tried to attack me because of it." There were quiet chuckles in the crowd. Jaril smiled faintly. "But I stayed," Ein continued, "not to defend the past, but to face it, to accept it, to change it." He held out his arm, showing the badge. "This cloth cannot erase history, but the hands that wear it can choose what it means today." He looked directly at Jaril. She lost someone she loved, and still, she chose to listen. That gave me the strength to keep going. Jaril lowered her head gently. Ein finished. "Let this agreement not be the end but the beginning. And let us remember that peace is not made by cloth or flag. It is made by choice, There was silence. Then, slowly, one by one, people began to clap. It started soft, then grew louder. Reltor stepped forward and raised his voice. With these words and these names, the Galactic Peace Council is born. Cheers echoed through the plaza. Some cried, others embraced. The moment felt real, strong, alive. That night, the skies over Terea lit up with peaceful lights. Not weapons, just colors. Green waves danced across the stars. Blue fireflies flew in patterns over the trees. Ein stood at the garden edge, watching it all. Jariel walked up beside him. You spoke well, she said, because I learned from you. He replied. She looked at the stars. This is only the first step. Peace will still be tested. I know, Ein said, but I'll be there to protect it, wherever I'm needed. She turned to him. I have a request. Anything, he said. Come to Velen, meet the others, share the truth you shared with me. I nodded. I'd be honored. They stood side by side in silence. The wind touched their faces gently. Jariel looked at his uniform again. When I first saw that cloth, I wanted to tear it apart. I remember, Ein smiled. But today, she said, when I saw you wearing it, I felt something different. What? Hope? Ein said nothing. He only looked at the stars, glowing like promises above them. For the first time, the galaxy felt like it could heal, and it had begun with one uniform and one choice. The journey from Terea to Velen was smooth and quiet. Ein sat by the ship's window, watching stars streak by in long lines of light. The silence was peaceful, but his mind was full of thoughts. Velen was Jariel's home, the place where her sister Molly had lived, laughed, and lost her life. The planet was known for its tall mountains, deep blue seas, and glowing forests. But more than that, Velen was a symbol of pain, memory, and hope. When the ship landed, Ein stepped out into cool air mixed with the scent of flowers and sea salt. The sky was pale purple, and the moons hung low like watchful eyes. Jariel waited for him at the landing site. Her silver eyes held the same sharpness as before, but now they softened when she saw him. Welcome to Velen, she said. This is where the past and future meet. I nodded. Thank you for letting me come, she smiled. You carry a heavy cloth, Earthman, but you carry it well. They walked together toward the city. Along the way, Jariel told stories of Velen's history, its music, its artists, and its struggles after the war. Many on Velen wanted to hide from the galaxy, but some of us believed that peace was worth the risk. Ein listened carefully, and now, we open our doors to truth, to healing. That evening, they reached a large garden at the heart of Velen's capital city. Soft lights glowed from flowers, and gentle music filled the air, a mix of alien instruments and human voices. Jariel led Ein to a circle of people sitting quietly. They were leaders, artists, elders, some with wings, some with scales, others with smooth skin, like hers. This is the Council of Memory, she explained. They hold the stories of our people, and now they want to hear yours. Ein looked at the group. Feeling the weight of many eyes on him, he took a deep breath. I come from Earth, a world that once made terrible mistakes. I wear this uniform, and I know it is not just cloth, it is history. He paused, but I believe history can teach us, not just to remember pain, but to choose peace. The council listened. Slowly, their faces softened. One elder, with eyes like amber fire, spoke. Your words are brave. It takes courage to carry pain and choose peace. Another said, tell us about your brother, who gave his life for others. Ein told them about Phase, the peacekeeper who ran into danger without fear. The council nodded, sharing stories of their own lost loved ones. For the first time, humans and Velen shared memories not of war, but of love. Days passed in the garden. Ein and Jariel worked together, meeting people, sharing stories, and building bridges. The wounds of the past were still deep, but small threads of hope wove through the hearts of many. One afternoon, Ein found Jariel alone by the water's edge. The sea was calm, reflecting the purple sky. You carry much, she said softly, but you are not alone. Ein looked at her. Neither are you. They sat in silence, Watching the waves, I never thought I would trust a human, she admitted. But you have shown me that peace is more than a dream. Ein smiled. And you showed me that healing begins with listening. On the last day, the council held a ceremony under the stars. They planted a new tree in the garden, a tree with silver leaves and blue flowers. Jariel spoke first. This tree is a promise that memory will live, but peace will grow. Ein stepped forward. We are different worlds, different faces, but under the stars. We share one hope, a future where no one fears the other. The council members placed their hands on the tree's trunk. Jariel turned to Ein. Thank you for walking this path with me. He nodded. Thank you for opening your heart. As the night deepened, the garden glowed softly. Stars sparkled like jewels above, silent witnesses to new beginnings. Ein looked at his uniform one last time before he removed it. He folded it carefully, placing it near the tree. This cloth is a story, he thought, but stories can change. Jariel joined him. Together, they watched the silver leaves sway. In that quiet moment, two different souls understood one truth. Peace was not a place or a flag. It was a choice they both had made. End of story.